Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lacey, and I am an adoptive mom of two special needs boys from just outside the Pittsburgh, PA area. And this channel is all things special mamas. And today, the video is going to be about sort of the definition of special needs and what it looks like daily. So if you are interested to hear sort of my take, offer your own comments, things like that, and know what my daily life sort of looks like when it comes to the special needs my boys have, go ahead, stick around. And if you want to see any future content and uploads, go ahead, subscribe, and ring that bell. And with that being said, we're going to get into it. So I did find, and I should have just made a slide instead of trying to read this, but sorry guys. I'm going to tell you the definition of a special needs child that I found in Merriam-Webster. So it's any of various difficulties such as physical, emotional, behavioral, learning disabilities, or impairment that requires an individual to have additional accommodations or specialized services. So I think we all kind of think that same way when we think special needs, that there's on top of the typical care that a child would need, they also have the need for some additional supports, additional services. You know, there are some conditions that are special needs, that are more physical in nature, that, are more outwardly prevalent. You can see that the child is in a wheelchair or needs crutches or has a trach. Those things I think we all like, oh, that's special needs. Yeah, you're darn right that's special needs, because that family never gets a break. That family has to hire nurses to come, a lot of times would have to hire a nurse to come monitor their child's feeding tube and things like that. Yeah, that's 100% special needs. Hats off to all my mamas out there that are dealing with those kinds of things. Then there's the other kind of special needs that, like the autism, the learning disabilities. In my case, you would look at my two boys and be like, oh, they're perfectly normal 10 and 14-year-old boys. What the heck are you talking about? Yeah. Spend more than 2 hours with them and see how you have a 14-year-old that acts and talks like he's 7. Yeah. That's my daily. And it is tiring and it is exhausting, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Don't get me wrong. But, there's those special needs cases that aren't always just so apparent. You would never look at me. Doctors looked at me and doubted that I had Turner syndrome because I don't have any of the physical characteristics. I've had 4 karyotypes done in my life because doctors that I presented to with saying I had Turner syndrome didn't believe me because I didn't have the physical characteristics of it. So, the special needs goes way beyond just the physical ones. And some of the behavioral and learning ones are even more difficult, because those are the ones that, granted, physical are incredibly hard. And a lot of times the other types of ones like learning disabilities, things like that, go along with that. But when it's a significant intellectual disability or things like that, then you're fighting that extra battle, because it's not a battle just academically or anything like that. It is the daily activities. It is looking at a 14-year-old. Okay, honest to God, this might be a little bit disgusting and like, what the heck, but I'm going to share this a little bit anyway. Okay, my 14-year-old has still not quite figured out how to wipe his butt correctly, and I've had several incidents lately where he has used a washcloth to clean himself and left it. So he knows better. He knows he's not supposed to do that. We've talked about it, and we've talked about, okay, like, that's good that you're cleaning yourself, but we don't leave it. We clean it up. He can't do that. He won't do that. And that's, on top of many other things. He sneaks boots, like rubber boots, to school because he's still in that childlike mindset. And so you take him somewhere and you have to prompt him constantly. You wipe your face. Don't put your fingers in your mouth. And yes, he is 14. And we have done this since day one. Manners. Do not do this. You speak respectfully. This is my daily. My 10-year-old, when you ask him to move something to the left, he knows his left from his right. But he doesn't do it. Or he sits there and is like, oh, yes, these are the kinds of things that are my daily life. And some of the stuff is just typical kid stuff, but it is exasperated with their intellectual disabilities because it's simple daily activities that they should not have to be sort of prompted because it is a daily routine. It is something that they are expected to do daily. And they don't do it. Or when you give them a certain instruction, they're not able to comply. And so it does lead to a lot of frustration because you want them to be as functional as possible. You want them to be able, my husband and I were talking about this the other day. We do have to start upping our game a little bit with the 14-year-old because, in a couple years, we're not going to be able to protect him anymore. He's going to be an adult and he's going to be expected to be able to go out into society and handle himself a little bit more. He's not going to be in that little bubble of life skills that he's in with only the same, 12 or 13 kids that he sees regularly. Like, he's not going to have that. And, I'm sorry, not that I don't love my kids or anything, but, when they're 18 and 15, I don't want to have to hire a babysitter for an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old because they are sort of capable of doing it. And that's the toughest part of these types of needs. And, my biggest thing that I'm having a struggle with lately when it comes to that definition of special needs and things like that and what versus what society says is, okay, all of like the summer day camps that we could potentially sign my kids up for so we didn't have to try to pay for daycare that much over the summer, things like that we could work something out. Because the law says at 13, they're able to stay home by themselves. Yeah, no day camp. We'll take him because he is 13. Or he's 14 and he'll be 15 this summer. And yeah, it saddens me that in a way that, there's probably so many of you out there in that same situation of like, okay, well, that's fine. But my child is not the typical 13-year-old or 14, he's not capable. He's not capable. I would never do that. And that's one of the biggest struggles that I think we all can kind of relate to is, yeah, that's fine. 80%, and that's just a random number I'm making up. Yeah, a majority of 13-year-olds could potentially stay home for a few hours during the day or whatever. But what do you do when you have a kid like mine that can't function at that level yet because his brain just does not allow him to? What are you supposed to do? So that's, and I, like I said, I hope a lot of you guys can relate to having some of those similar struggles and, just sort of defining what that looks like is what I feel will truly be a key to coming to peace with having a special needs child. And, that was something that was very difficult for me. And I think, honestly, I am just now, after 6 years of having them here with us, I think I'm just now finally starting to embrace what my definition of special needs and truly realizing, yeah, they are special needs and they are not going to be okay. They are not okay right now. And, if you guys can relate and if you guys want to sort of share some of your stories, some things that we can talk about, please, please, please drop them in the comments below. And I hope this sort of gave you an insight into you're not alone and sort of what defines special needs. Have a great day.